Alright guys, I'm back. I just wanted to make sure that my YouTube video recording devices are working. Like I said, I'm not really well versed in YouTube. I'm not really well versed in recording myself and uploading videos, so it's really rough for me. I'm going to finish reading chapter 5 of Saving Destiny right now, and then I'm going to upload both videos. So here's the next part of chapter 5 of Saving Destiny. I had always felt so sorry for the kids who had to stay in the hospital for months, and the kids who were from residential programs. And now, I was one of those kids. In the course of a 30-minute meeting, my entire world had been flipped upside down and shaken around like a snow globe in the hands of a young child. "Do you have any other questions?" Wendy asked me. I couldn't manage to speak. I just shook my head no. "Does anyone have any comments before we go?" Wendy inquired. "We just want to let you know that we love you so much," my dad added. "I love you guys too," I choked out through cascades of tears. My parents gave me big hugs before they left. "We'll be back to visit in a couple of days," they promised me. I nodded. My world was getting blurry again. That was a bad sign. I watched my parents' backs retreat through the double-locked locked doors. I returned to my signature blue plastic couch on the girls' side of the day room and curled myself up into a tiny ball around Blinky. I put my fists in front of my mouth to muffle the sobs, but it didn't help much. I felt like I'd been completely abandoned by everyone I knew. I was supposed to finish up the 11th grade at my special therapeutic school that I loved. I was supposed to see if I could get any more of my writing projects published. I was supposed to go to my last year of dance camp this summer. Now, I was left with nothing to look forward to, except for an extended stay in a psychiatric facility. I couldn't possibly imagine how I was going to get through this. "You need to leave this place," the bad man urgently whispered in my ear. "She can leave if she wants. She has the power. She can run straight through those doors. She will blast through. Then she will be out of this mess. Then everything will be okay," the storyteller sang. "You can do it. It will make everything better," encouraged the bad man. Suddenly, I felt as though I'd had a brilliant revelation. I had a way to fix things. I would run straight through both doors and off the unit. I would blast straight through, and then everything would be fine. This would fix everything. Relief flooded through me. I thought to myself that I'd been silly to get so upset. There was always a solution, always a way to fix things. As reality dissolved away, I made another attempt at escaping Haverford Hospital's child and adolescent unit. But instead of running straight through the doors like Harry Potter had done at platform 9 3/4, my whole body collided with them with a sickening thud. My head and body ricocheted painfully off the heavy metal-wood combination. I must not have done it right. I must have done something wrong. "You need to do it again," the bad man and the storyteller both told me in unison. I tried to pull my sore, aching body off of the floor that I was collapsed on, but before I could get up, a huge group of people converged on me, and they were holding me down on the floor. "Please get off me," I begged. "It didn't work. I just need to try again." "What were you trying to do?" asked Mike, who was one of my favorite staff. He was holding my arms down on the ground. "I need to go. I need to leave. I can't stay here," I tried to explain, through the sobs that were bubbling back up inside me again now. I struggled to get my body free as panic whirled around inside me tornado style, but the staff were holding me down too firmly. "Let me go," I begged. The bad man screamed louder than a train whistle. I knew that was a bad sign. I knew I had to get free. But soon found myself in the quiet room, restrained to the papoose board. The nurse named Danielle leaned over me. "Dr. Aiden wants you to have your Pierre and Haldol to help you calm down and relax a little. I have it right here." She showed me the special syringe that hooks up to the end of my NJ tube so that they can push my medication into my tube and into my small intestine. The syringe had some pink fluid in it. This is the Haldol that I crushed up and mixed with water. It's only Haldol, I promise. Scout's honor. Danielle smiled and saluted at me. She showed me the wrapper from the package the Haldol had come in. I thanked her for her confirmation of what I was getting through my NJ tube in my nose. It wasn't like I had any other choice. My arms were strapped down at my sides. My legs were strapped down to the bottom of the board. There were flaps fastening my entire midsection to the board. Anyone could have done anything to me, and I wouldn't have been able to defend myself at all. All of the staff filtered out of the room, except Mara, who I guess had been assigned to watch me. Danielle injected the medication into my NJ tube, and then flushed it through with another similar syringe full of plain room temperature water. I could feel the temperature of the water as it was pushed through. I struggled to slow my breathing and relax my muscles, because I knew they wouldn't let me out of the papoose board until I did. But every time I started to calm down, the bad man or the storyteller would hiss at me, and I would feel all panicked again. She's going to stay there forever, the storyteller kept narrating. Can't I come out soon? I pleaded with Mara. Not yet, Mara kept telling me, which only made me more and more worried that the storyteller was right. When the storyteller and the bad man finally quieted down some, and I could hear and process my own thoughts, I started feeling calmer and less scared. After they released me from the papoose board, I crawled over to the corner of the quiet room with wobbly arms and legs. This was getting way too routine. Danielle, the nurse, came back to check on me. I have something for you, she told me, smiling, and handed Blinky back to me. I think you dropped her earlier. I gratefully accepted Blinky and whispered apologies into her ear. It seems like you're feeling better now, Danielle gasped. I nodded. That was a tough family meeting you had, wasn't it? I nodded again. We'll help you get through this, she promised. I was skeptical that I would ever be happy again, but I just nodded again. The dose of Haldol that Danielle had given me had completely snowed me. My blood felt like it had turned to molasses in my veins. If you want to go to your room and lie down on the bed, I can go with you, suggested Mara. I was too tired to even speak, so I just nodded, grabbed Blinky, and stumbled after Mara to the room I was rarely ever actually allowed to go in. As soon as my head hit the pillow, I was asleep. When I woke up, I was initially okay, but then my memories filtered back in, and I felt my world come crashing down around me, all over again. I wasn't going home. I was going to be trapped here for who knows how long, and then I would be trapped somewhere else for even longer. In my head, I replayed the last several years of my life, over and over. I wanted to press the rewind button. I wanted to do everything over again. I wanted to change my destiny. I wanted to be home safe with my parents, not locked up on another psychiatric unit. My mental illness and gastroparesis had destroyed most of my childhood. I couldn't let it ruin my future. Are you okay, Destiny? The counselor who was sitting with me asked. Mara must have gone on break while I slept. I nodded, but that was the biggest lie ever. Talking about all this out loud just seemed like it would be too exhausting, though. It's almost time for process group. Do you want to try going to it? She asked me. Sure, I agreed. Sorry about that, guys. My voice was raw and gravelly. I peeled my sweaty body off of the bed and headed towards the day room for process group. I got there just as it was about to start and curled up in a ball on a blue plastic chair. Good afternoon, guys, Wendy, the social worker, greeted us all. Who wants to review the group rules for us? A boy named Matt raised his hand. Go ahead, but Matt, Wendy smiled. Okay, the process group rules are to respect everyone, take turns speaking, don't talk to anyone, no crosstalk, don't glorify past behaviors or traumas, don't leave group without permission, everything that's said in group stays in group, and be honest, Matt recited. Thank you, Matt, Wendy smiled again. Destiny, do you want to start us off by checking in? I hesitantly nodded. So how are you feeling today? Can you give me a couple of words that describe your emotions right now? Scared and angry, I told her right away. Do you know why you might be feeling that way? Wendy asked. I turned my gaze toward the ground and explained sadly. I just found out that I can't go home after I get discharged from here. I have to go to residential. A murmur of understanding and empathy rippled through the group. We all knew that residential meant being ripped away from your family and your regular life and forced to live in a rule-filled prison where you were robbed of control over everything. I feel like I screwed up, I admitted. I feel like if I only could have been able to do things differently, then this wouldn't be happening. Does anyone have any feedback for Destiny? Asked Wendy. Emma raised her hand. Yes, Emma, Wendy nodded at her. Maybe you could think of it a little differently. I mean, I don't think they're sending you to residential as a punishment. I think they're just trying to help you cope better. I nodded. I knew Emma was right, and when I thought about it logically, I could agree with her. But there were too many emotions getting in the way. After group, I was sitting with Emma and Lily in the day room, just chatting, when the unit doors opened up and a stretcher came through. I guess we have a new admission, commented Lily. When the stretcher came all the way through the doors, we could see who it was. It was Ashley, back again for her third time in less than a month. We all sighed sadly. As much as we loved her and wanted to spend time with her, we didn't want to see her back in the hospital. We waved at Ashley. When she waved back at us, we could see that her hands were covered in bandages from her wrists to her elbows. Seeing Ashley get hospitalized yet again was depressing. It reminded us how, for so many of us, the psych hospital was a revolving door. Sometimes it wasn't even a Band-Aid. We didn't just come in, get treatment, get better, and go home for good. We just continually relapsed and went back and forth between hospital, residential treatment, respite, and home. After Ashley was done with her intake interviews, she joined the rest of us in the day room. What happened? Asked Lily. Ashley shook her head sadly and gestured to her arms. I just couldn't handle it, she explained. It's like the urge. It's like an itch you have to scratch. And then you do it once, and you just have to keep going. I felt jealous of Ashley. She had at least gotten a chance to go home. That's what I wanted more than anything else in the world. I wouldn't blow my chances like Ashley, I told myself. But in the back of my mind were little inside my head snapshots of all the times I'd been discharged from psych units and said, never again. All of those times I sat in the ER drinking activated charcoal while my mom held a cup of water and a puke bag nearby, and I still puked black charcoal all over my brand new pink snow boots, and I swore to myself, never again. The voices always won out. There was always an again. But one of these times, would they lead me astray? Would they have me do something permanent? Irreversible? I didn't want to think about that, but Dr. Aiden had brought it up in our last session, and now I couldn't stop thinking about it. Somehow, whether it was through medication, meditation, therapy, or walking around wearing a pair of Pokemon underwear on my head, I had to figure out how to separate myself from the bad man and the storyteller before I found out the hard way if they really would lead me to do something irreversibly damaging. Do you want to stop? I asked Ashley out of curiosity. I knew I wanted to stop hurting myself, even though I only hurt myself when I was actively hallucinating or so depressed that I was hell-bent on killing myself. That one time with Uncle Charlie's medicine cabinet. I do and I don't, she told us. But I love the thrill of watching the blood seep down my arm and knowing I made it come out. but I hate all the drama of the ER and stitches and crisis workers in the hospitals, and my parents telling me how disappointed they are in me. We all nodded. There was nothing worse than that expression on our parents' or caregivers' faces when they told us how disappointed they were with us after we slipped up and engaged in one of our behaviors. It was almost better if they yelled at us. Plus, ER sucked. They put you in a room with a bed in it, and nothing else. They took away all your possessions and gave you hospital pajamas with no strings. Then, if you're lucky, they have a TV locked up in a case, and they can come put it on one channel for you. After that, they tell you to stay in that one room and not come out. It takes hours for an emergency room doctor to clear you. Then, it takes hours for someone from crisis to come talk to you. Then, it takes hours for them to decide what they want to do with you. If they decide you need to be in the hospital, a bed search starts. The whole time, your mom or dad or guardian is sitting there trying to read a book, talk on the phone, or go on their computer, and just looks disgusted with the situation, and you take it personally. It feels like it's all your fault, and you beat yourself up about not having better control over yourself. Child and adolescent units are few and far between, so you know you'll probably get sent at least an hour away. Bed searches can take up to 36 hours. 36 hours of sitting in that one room where you're not allowed any possessions. How is that conducive to any child or teen's mental health? That's beyond me. I was so sick of all the mental illness stuff. I was sick of all the gastroparesis stuff, too. I couldn't eat like a normal person, or just go to a restaurant and order off the menu when I went out with friends. During the periods that I could eat, which were pretty much over and done with according to my last GI consult, I had to mostly just drink Ensure and eat soft, low-fiber foods with high-calorie content, like noodles with butter or mashed potatoes with butter. I had NJ tubes more often than not. We had a lot of trouble keeping my potassium levels normal, and I had multiple emergency room trips that turned into admissions for getting potassium infused directly into my veins, as we found out that along with the gastroparesis diagnosis, I also had an issue with my kidneys, where they didn't know how to retain potassium or magnesium. My stomach hurt constantly and would randomly swell up so big that it looked like I was pregnant. While the rest of me looked like a stick. I was so thin that even sitting on my bottom on a regular chair was painful because my pelvic bones dug into the chair with no fat to cushion them. My muscles would fatigue quickly all of the time because I never had enough nutrition going into me to make them work properly, and the random bouts of dry heaving and vomiting were not always controlled by the dissolvable under-the-tongue Zofran and Phenergan pills. Constipation was a major issue as well, and I was on enough laxatives that should have made an elephant explode. But for me, I barely went once or twice a week. Sometimes I even needed enemas to go, and I would have to lie in a towel on the bathroom floor on my side and give myself the enema and then wait for about 10 minutes before sitting on the toilet and praying the enema would actually do something. When I wasn't in the hospital for psychiatric reasons, I was in the hospital for my gastroparesis. All I wanted to do was get better and go home and stay home, and have the last couple of years of my childhood be at home in peace, without being interrupted by the bad man, the storyteller, the chorus, or any other command hallucinations. I wanted to be able to eat whatever I felt like eating without getting sick, and gain enough weight that I could wear children's size 10-12 clothes at age 16 instead of children's size 7-8. It didn't seem like that should be too much to ask, right? And that is the end of Chapter 5 of Saving Destiny. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you keep coming back and checking out my YouTube channel. I'll be posting more videos. I will get the hang of YouTube eventually, and things will get easier for me, and things will go smoother. But please check out my website. It's www.beccapava.org, just my name.org, www.beccapava.org. Please check it out. Please leave a comment. Please leave a comment on my YouTube channel. I love comments. They're great. They make my day. Thank you so much for watching this. Love you guys all. Bye.